Hello, I'm Jen Vanek, Director of Digital Learning and Research at the EdTech Center at World Education. Welcome to the video, Digital Inclusion, a Foundation for Equity in Online CTE Courses. This short video will prompt you to consider the importance of digital inclusion and equity for online CTE program participants. It will introduce these concepts, share some strategies, and produce some examples that you might find useful. I encourage you to pause the video periodically and, using the linked QR codes, read more deeply into the information and examples that you find relevant to your own work. Offering online coursework is a proven strategy for increasing access to and providing the flexibility that can make CTE programming more equitable. However, it's not enough to just create an online course and say you've done your part to support equity. You'll need to proactively ensure that your program and institution understand and then strive to meet the needs of learners who have experienced digital exclusion in the past. You can't assume that the CTE students that you support will have access to the internet and devices they'll need to enroll and fully participate in online courses. The CTE student body shares demographic characteristics with those adults who have limited access to computers and home broadband in the past. For example, Pew Research Center survey results show that Americans with lower incomes tend to have lower levels of technology adoption. The same is true for Black and Hispanic adults in the US, who may also lack access. Pew data also show that adult Americans with lower incomes tend to be smartphone dependent for access to the internet. Smartphone dependent students might be able to make use of mobile-friendly course materials, but will likely be unable to complete all coursework using their phones. So, how can you think about overcoming these access challenges? Knowing the extent of the access gap in your area is a great place to start. Then you need to act to strengthen digital inclusion strategies within your program. So let's start by thinking about what exactly we mean by digital inclusion and digital equity. HR 3684, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which funds digital inclusion efforts in the US, refers to digital inclusion as the activities necessary to ensure that all individuals and communities, including the most disadvantaged, have access to and use of information and communications technologies. The Act suggests that the results of digital inclusion efforts is digital equity, a condition in which all individuals and communities have the information technology capacity needed for full participation in our society, democracy, and economy. The Digital Inclusion Alliance, which was instrumental in lobbying for the passage of the Digital Inclusion Act, articulates 5 intentional strategies and investments that need to be made to overcome past barriers to access and the technology use and support that's required for digital inclusion. These include affordable, robust broadband internet service, internet-enabled devices that meet the needs of all users, access to digital literacy training, quality technical support, and applications and online content designed to enable and encourage self-sufficiency, participation, and collaboration. The first step is to attend to the access your students might have to the internet and to digital devices. There are several online resources that can help you know about digital inclusion landscape in your area so you know how to meet this need. The Digital Divide Index in your area can help tell you or better understand patterns of inequity in your area. The DDI is composed of 2 scores: the Infrastructure Adoption Score and the Socioeconomic Score. The final calculation, or DDI score, ranges in value from 0 to 100, where 100 indicates the highest digital divide score possible. You can access your county's score using the interactive map from Purdue University Center for Regional Development. It also shows the key access or demographic data that went into calculating the score for your area. Similar tools like Digital Planet, the Fletcher School at Tufts University's resource, and Digitunity's digital visualization resource can provide additional information to help you understand the digital landscape and access to that your students might have. Once you have a sense of the digital landscape in your area, you should respond by thinking about ways to increase or expand access for students who lack home computers or broadband internet. One way to do this is to directly lend Wi-Fi enabled devices and hotspots, or to provide access to computer labs. You need to increase access in a manner that provides flexibility for use of learners. CTE Collab college partner Diablo Valley College makes use of many strategies. For example, their lending program offers a range of devices for students who need them. And their Zoom zones placed in college campus student centers give students a quiet place to be online when on campus. This makes it possible for them to participate in online classes when they don't have time to commute between classes offered in different modalities, or if they don't have Wi-Fi at home. Similarly, the Collab College partner Community College of Aurora has upgraded their IT infrastructure to provide a stronger Wi-Fi signal inside the buildings and outside into the parking lot to make sure that students can do their online work well. Another strategy that works is to coordinate distribution of refurbished laptops. These laptops can be arranged with organizations like PCs for People, which has outlets in many cities across the country. Programs can also leverage national digital inclusion programs like the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a benefits program that helps ensure that households can afford the broadband they need for work, school, healthcare, and more. Eligible households receive assistance to pay for internet service and devices from local internet service providers. Not all access issues can be addressed at the program level. If there are widespread access challenges, colleges need to explore partnerships with internet service providers in their area in order to make sure that students have access to bandwidth levels that make schooling possible. For example, Quintillion, an ISP headquartered in Anchorage, Alaska, has donated bandwidth to support access to students at an Alaskan tribal college that previously lacked resources for broadband. So after access has been addressed, the next step is to ensure that students can make use of that digital access. This requires helping students build digital resilience that they need to nimbly make use of the technologies they encounter at school, work, and daily life. This starts by offering opportunities for students to build digital skills, which are defined as the range of abilities required to make use of devices, communication applications, and networks to access and manage information. So these skills lead to digital literacy, that is, the ability to use information and communication technologies to find, evaluate, and communicate information, requiring both cognitive and technical skills, which eventually leads to digital resilience. With digital resilience, learners can withstand the turbulence of encountering new digital tools and resources in their schooling, daily life, and on the job. A good place to start with working toward digital resilience with your learners is to develop an awareness of the skills they need to make use of the digital technologies and software required for successful engagement in your course activities. Consider skills across the range of tasks or activities that require digital technology to complete. The Create Adult Skills Research Network, funded by the U.S. Department of Education's Institute for Education Sciences, has authored a brief describing several useful frameworks that you can use to help identify the skills learners will need to be involved in your online coursework. One of the frameworks featured in the brief is the Seattle Digital Equity and Inclusion Initiative framework. World Education has created a checklist that can be used by teachers or course designers to survey the skills students need. The checklist could also be modified and used as a self-assessment tool for learners. which they could use to gauge their own strengths and skill gaps. Working with students, teachers can connect learners to resources to help them build their skills. For example, teachers could share open and free digital resources cataloged in this platform called the Digital Skills Library. This repository includes skill building opportunities like GCF Learn Free, published by the Goodwill Community Foundation. After you provide access and support digital skill development, then make sure there is ample ongoing support so students can persist. You can do this by making sure that your tech support and help videos are not behind a login, like the example pictured here from Rio Hondo College, which is not a CoLab community college, but provides an excellent example. You could use a YouTube channel or embed content on a publicly accessible website, which minimizes barriers to accessing them, especially for students new to online learning who may lose track of logins and passwords. Also, be sure you add a human touch to your technical support. Some students learn best by working with a coach or tutor who can help them when they're trying to learn to use new digital resources for the first time, or students who just need a verbal explanation. CTE CoLab colleges have been thoughtful in figuring out what supports learners need. For example, Kingsborough Community College, a City University of New York school, has a new student survey, which includes a question about the use of and responsiveness of their tech support. Finally, you need to create opportunities for students to maximize confidence as they continue to apply and build skills, working toward digital resilience. You can do this with careful attention to the content that you share with them. One strategy is to design online courses to maximize participation and success. Several CoLab colleges have set up a bank of how-to videos and online instructions they strategically introduce as needed. This example shows all of them stored in one place in a Canvas shell, but teachers should introduce the skills to students strategically as just-in-time learning and not all at once at the beginning of a course. Another strategy is to again integrate digital skill development into relevant programming. For example, Austin Community College serves as a great example for CTE CoLab colleges and other institutions. The college's digital fluency for today's jobs is structured into 4 courses aligned with specific competencies required by employers. For example, the courses integrate training addressing soft skills such as communication and organizational skills with digital fluency in software such as Microsoft, Google, and Apple suites. You can read about this initiative in a blog post just published by the Aspen Institute and accessed through the QR code here on the screen. These digital inclusion strategies together can lead to equitable access and maximize engagement in learning for CTE students who have historically been digitally excluded because of their race, income level, where they live, and limited prior opportunities to make use of digital technologies in their daily lives. It's important to note that once you establish these digital inclusion strategies, you need to pay attention continuously because digital inclusion is a moving target and your strategies must evolve as technology advances. This focus on digital inclusion takes time and resources, but it is a key ingredient to supporting racial equity in online CTE programs. Please look for more information on the CTE CoLab project at the website listed here. You can also access other resources produced by partner organizations at the site.